Hey guys, it's Darby, welcome to the channel. This is my guide for everything you're going to need to know about how to build Fugue in Honkai Star Rail. Fugue is a fire character following the path of Nihility. She is currently the only limited 5-star character who enables Super Break, and the only character that can replace the Harmony Trailblazer, obviously meaning she is going to be the new mainstay in most break meta teams. So, let's talk about Fugue's kit and how she works. Fugue's basic attack is just a normal single hit. Her skill grants one ally Phoxian Prayer, and she enters the Torrid Scorch state, which lasts for 3 of her own turns. While in the Torrid Scorch state, Fugue's basic attack is enhanced. The ally with Phoxian Prayer gains 30% break effect, and the ability to reduce toughness of any enemy regardless of their weakness type equal to 50% of the original toughness reduction. As well as any time the ally attacks while affected by Phoxian Prayer, Fugue will reduce the targeted enemy's defense by 18% for 2 turns. Her enhanced basic attack hits one enemy and the adjacent targets. Fugue's talent makes it so when she is on field, all enemies are affected by Cloud Flame Luster, which is basically Exo Toughness, equal to 40% of the max toughness. Once an enemy is broken, they can be broken a second time. As long as Fugue is on the field, after allies attack a broken enemy, they will also deal Super Break damage. Fugue's ultimate hits all enemies on field and will ignore all enemies' weakness types to reduce their toughness. Her technique dazes all surrounding enemies, and after entering battle while the enemy is dazed, Fugue's action is advanced by 40% and she has a chance to inflict the same defense reduction as her skill. Fugue's major traces include her first trace, which additionally delays broken enemies by 15%. Her second trace increases her own break effect by 30%, and after the first use of her skill, she will recover a skill point. And her third trace makes it so when an enemy weakness is broken, your ally's break effect will increase by 6%. If Fugue's break effect is 220 or higher, the boost is increased by 12% lasting for 2 turns, and this can stack twice. Her minor traces include break effect, speed, and HP, and I recommend focusing on the break effect and speed ones. And finally, for which abilities I recommend you focus on leveling first, I'd say first her skill and talent, and then her ultimate and basic attack. Alright, that's all for her kit. Now let's talk about which relics to use. So for Fugue's best relic set, we have the Iron Cavalry Against the Scourge for the increased break effect by 16%, and the defense ignore that it provides to Super Break. This is by far her best 4-piece option for her own damage output, but there are some other options for more supportive sets. For example, a 2-piece of Thief of Shooting Meteor, Watchmaker, Master of Dream Machinations, Messenger Traversing Hackerspace, or Sacerdotes' Relived Ordeal can all provide either 2-piece break effect buff or 2-piece speed buff, so any combination of those sets will work great. And for her planar ornaments, the best set will be Forge of the Carpagni Lantern for the increase in speed and the 40% break boost against fire-weak enemies. But if they are not weak to fire, or you just don't need the 6% speed boost, you can also use the Talia Kingdom of Banditry set for the 16% break effect boost, plus if you get fast enough, which Fugue should get fast enough, she gets a lot of speed naturally, and another 20% break boost. Now, for main stats, you're going to want an effect hit rate body, speed boots, HP or defense orb, and a break effect rope or an energy regen rope. The thing with the rope is if you can hit the 220 break effect in battle without the break effect rope, then go for the energy regen. But if you can't hit that 220 that you need, go for the break effect rope. However, keep in mind that if you're playing Fugue in a break team, the likelihood of her getting break boosts from teammates, plus she gets a 30% break effect boost from one of her traces, you don't really have to get exactly 220, so energy regen will be the more likely option. And keep in mind as well, you're going to want about 67 effect hit rate, because that pretty much guarantees your base chance on landing your debuff, as well as for speed, just get as much as you can. And so for any substats you want to go for on your relics, I recommend speed, break effect, and effect hit rate. And any sustaining stats will help in the long run. But that's going to be it for her relics. So now, let's talk about Fugue's best Lightcones. Alright, so for Fugue's best Lightcone options, we have got obviously her signature Lightcone, Long Road Leads Home, which increases the wearer's break effect by 60%. And when an enemy target's weakness gets broken, there is a 100% base chance to inflict the charring state on it, which increases the break damage taken by 18% lasting for 2 turns, and this effect stacks up to 2 times, meaning that is a 36% break damage bonus, which is obviously a really strong buff for any break team to use. But this is her signature Lightcone, so let's look at some more affordable options. First of all, we have the Gacha Lightcone, Resolution Shines as Pearls of Sweat, which is her best Gacha Lightcone in my opinion, and probably her best 4-star option. When the wearer hits an enemy, and if the hit enemy is not already ensnared, there is a 100% base chance to ensnare the hit enemy, and ensnared enemy's defense decreases by 16% for 1 turn. This not only gives Fugue the ability to add her own debuff without having an ally attack, but it's also just a good 16% defense down on top of the 18% she already puts on the enemy. And the nice thing about this Lightcone is that it is on Fugue's Lightcone banner, so if you don't get her Lightcone, you might get some copies of this. Now for the free-to-play options, we have Solitary Healing, which is the Her to Store 5-star Nihility Lightcone, which increases the wearer's break effect by 40%. And I'll be honest, the rest of this doesn't really do much, unless Fugue breaks an enemy, that puts on the fire dot, then they die, then she gets some energy back, which is nice. And the 40% break effect boost is just good in general for Fugue. So this is likely the best free-to-play option she has, but there is one other option, and that is before the tutorial mission starts, which is now obtainable in the Her to Store, which increases the wearer's effective hit rate by 40%, which might mean you can run HP or defense on your body if you're dying too much, which I mean, it shouldn't be anyway, but you might. And when the wearer attacks a defense reduced enemy, they regenerate 8 energy, which I suppose is helpful. This is just the other free-to-play option that if you need something to put on Fugue, this does work, and it is good enough. That's going to be it for Fugue's best Lightcones. Here's a little summary on screen just to go over everything you need to build her. And other than that, let's look at Fugue's best teams. So let's take a look at her best teams. Now, I don't have Fugue, so it's the same person, ignore it. But since Fugue is obviously a super break support, it will obviously work with any of these characters. Firefly, Boothill, and Rapper are all up premium break DPS, and they all work really well with Fugue as a support. Firefly obviously wants the help with the super break, the Exo Toughness helps Boothill get his stacks up faster, and the same thing with Rapper, being able to break so many more times gives her so many more charges. And for some other break DPS that benefit from Fugue, we have Himeko and Shui Yi. Obviously, Himeko's follow-up attack is triggered when an enemy is broken, so with the ability from Exo Toughness to be able to break enemies more times, means Himeko will attack more often. A similar effect with Shui Yi. Her follow-up attack is triggered by a weakness bar being damaged, meaning if there's more weakness bar to be damaged, more follow-up attacks from Shui Yi. As well as they both benefit from Super Break, which Fugue just allows by existing. Now for the other support in the team, Ruan Mei obviously is the best break support in the game with her action delay, making it so you can hit them more often while they're broken, the weakness break efficiency boost so you break them faster, and the break effect buff she just gives. Ruan Mei is the perfect person to go in this third slot. However, if you don't have Ruan Mei, the Harmony Trailblazer can actually work with Fugue himself or herself, because the super break bonuses they both give are separate numbers. Meaning, for example, if Ruan Mei were to hit a broken enemy, it would do 2 instances of super break. As well as Fugue giving the Exo Toughness, the more enemies that are broken, the more energy Harmony Trailblazer gets to use their ultimate. And then sustains for a Fugue team would obviously be the break supports, being Ling Sha and Gallagher, who both benefit from break effect, both buff break effect, and both do a lot of break effect. Seeing as though they both build break effect into their kits for their healing, the more break effect they have, the more super break they will do thanks to Fugue. As well as, in certain instances, they are actually a good partner for Fugue to put her skill on, because both of them attack so frequently, Gallagher with his ultimate into basic attack combo, and Ling Sha with Fu Yuan going multiple times, that will allow you to stack up Fugue's defense down much faster. Now I just wanted to talk about the Acheron team here, because as Fugue being a Nihility character, she can work with Acheron, and thanks to Fugue's skill making it so an ally is who puts debuffs on an enemy, if you put Fugue's skill on, for example, Aventurine or even Ling Sha or any sustain really, each time they attack, with their basic attacks, follow-up attacks or whatever, they will be the ones inflicting a debuff onto the enemy, which would give Acheron a stack. As well as if you use the Resolution Shines Lightcone on Fugue, she will be doing her own defense downs on her basic attacks, meaning that's even more stacks for Acheron, meaning this team can work really well together. So if you don't like Super Break, but you still want to pull Fugue and you have Acheron, she does work with Acheron. That's going to be it for the team section, so now let's talk about her Eidolons. Fugue's E1 makes it so the ally target that has Phoxian Prayer increases their weakness break efficiency by 50%, which is really broken to make enemies get broken much faster. Fugue's E2 makes it so when an enemy target gets broken, Fugue generates 3 energy. And after Fugue uses her ultimate, advances the action of all allies forward by 24%, which basically puts an S5 Dance 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 in her base kit. I would say Fugue's E2 is by far the best thing to go for, because having Dance 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 S5 basically just in your kit is really broken. That 24% advance forward is so broken if you want to zero cycle or win a fight really fast. It's so strong, and that is probably her best Eidolon. Fugue's E3 is a skill and basic attack level up. Fugue's E4 makes it so the ally with Phoxian Prayer increases their break damage dealt by 20%, which is a nice damage boost. Fugue's E5 is an ultimate and talent level up, and Fugue's E6 increases Fugue's weakness break efficiency by 50%. And while Fugue is in the Torrid Scorch state, which is what happens when she uses her skill on someone, Phoxian Prayer takes effect on all allies, which basically means every single character on your team will be able to ignore the enemy's weakness and have a 50% weakness break efficiency boost and a break damage boost, which for break teams, that is an incredibly busted Eidolon, but you don't have to go for E6 at all. She's still really good just at E0 on her own, but that E6 is really good for break teams. But that's all her Eidolons, so let's give some final thoughts on Fugue. Fugue is looking to be a really strong unit in the break archetype. She's bringing something to the table that no one else in the game brings with her exo toughness. Plus, being the second character in the game to allow for Super Break, if you like Break Effect and Super Break, Fugue is most likely a future-proof mainstay unit that will be around for a while. But you could be thinking, I already have Harmony MC. Why would I get Fugue? Well, not only does Fugue work with Harmony Trailblazer if you still want to use him, as we know, the Remembrance main character is coming out in 3.0, and we don't know what they're going to do yet. But if the track record stays the same, and Harmony Trailblazer becomes a broken unit that is required for most break teams throughout the entirety of the 2.0 patches, the likelihood of the Remembrance MC being really good for Remembrance or something is probably really likely. And you can't use 2 main characters at the same time, so if you want to use Remembrance MC but you still want to do Super Break, you're gonna have to get Fugue. But you could always wait until closer to 3.0 where we might get some news on how Remembrance MC will work, and then you can make your decision. But as someone who loves the break meta and Super Break in general, I'm so excited for Fugue as she looks busted. And that's going to be it for me. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed or learned something, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and good luck in your own Fugue pulls if you're going for her. And I will see you next time.